podcast. I'm your host, Sana, and let me ask you this. What if I told you that life isn't about chasing happiness, but about choosing it? That sometimes the most unexpected twists, heartbreak, career shifts, even starting over at 40, can lead us to our true north. Now, listeners, today on the Mindful Living, we are sitting down with someone who embodies this journey. From climbing the corporate ladder to building a thriving seven-figure wellness business, our guest is a proof that it's never too late to rewrite your story. And that mindful living isn't a destination, but indeed a practice we commit to daily. We'll explore how meditation, yoga, and simple mindful rituals can help us live not just a longer life, but a richer, more aligned one. So, wherever you are, take a breath, get present, and join us for this soul centered conversation. And listeners, meet my lovely guest, Sharon Vendle. Sharon, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really happy to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sharon, such an interesting journey, and I totally can connect with your transformation because although not much of an experienced one, but 10 years in the corporate career, and then I transformed into something very opposite to what I was supposed to do. I got
Mhm.
into full time podcasting, so you had a very successful corporate career before taking this leap to wellness. What was that defining moment, that inner nudge or inner calling that made you realize it was time to change course?
So, I started out because I was a little bit stressed at work. I started getting regular massage. And I realized like what a difference it made, not just physically, but mentally. Like you're able to calm your mind, just relax for a moment and just clear your head. And so I was fascinated and I asked my massage therapist like where did she learn to do this? And she said originally she learned in China, but then she had to repeat schooling here and she went to a holistic massage school, which really made the connection, the mind body connection. And, it happened to just be in my neighborhood.
Mm.
And decided to just take a look and see, like, do they offer classes? This could be like a great thing to do, and just learn for just pure pleasure, and
Mhm.
I went there, I started taking classes, I met great people who were all interested in feeling better, helping other people feel better,
Mhm.
and next thing you know, um, I'm doing the whole program, and I would say half the program were people who were working corporate world full time and doing this also on the side. And so it was interesting. Half of us were in the corporate world, half were starting out in their early 20s and looking, for this as a career. But yeah, in the process, it I just felt the connection to people, to helping them feel better, calm their mind, calm their nervous system so that they can take on whatever it is they need to take on in life. And my instructor pointed out, she's like, you really have a healing touch and you used to work in skincare. I think you should think about getting your esthetician license because if you have both esthetician and massage licenses, you will never have to worry about work again. There's, not too many people who want to do both, who can do both. And so if that's of interest to you, you should really think about pursuing it. And this is where you kind of get into a crossroads because when you look at esthetician school, most of them are full time, 40 hours a week, 5 days a week. You
Mhm.
can't do this on the side. And so you have to decide, do you want to commit to it? And, I took some time, 6 months, um, 8 months after finishing massage school and decided, "I think I wanna do this," and gave my notice way in advance. My employers had, I say, about 4 to 6 months notice because I had such a team under me that we had to prepare, what would happen in the process, and at least 8 people got promoted when I left. So, it was a good indication that me moving on created opportunities for many others, and this was my next path, and I really haven't looked back. It's been a amazing journey. Um, I decided to initially work for a company, but that lasted only about 6 months,
Mhm.
before I was just ready to go out and start my own business. I did do it initially with a partner, and, there's a whole podcast that can be done on partnerships,
Mm,
and it was a journey of learning and, realizing that there's some benefits to it. You go into it thinking it is a little bit more secure, you have someone there to kind of help you along the way, and you can really create something together. Um, but it doesn't always work out. I think a lot of partnerships, in the long run, tend to dissolve from what I've heard and experienced and talked to people who have gone through it as well. But you find your way, and solopreneur became the next path after 3 years of a partnership. And it was the right decision, and um, I have a really wonderful team, at the wellness spa. And I think the vision is much clearer and everyone's focused on just creating a space for people to connect with themselves and kind of clear their head and take care of themselves because right now everything is so much about doing and going, going, going that we do need to pause. We do need to make the time.
mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And what what a stellar journey. I want to ask you one question, Sharon. When of course you took some time to analyze, and you did your course as well in those span of 6 months while you were also working. Um, did it feel liberating for you when you handed over your notice and you were in process of creating a space for others to kind of follow you? Or did you have any second doubts that am I doing this in the right way or not? Because um, the stability of having a corporate job, and that too with such a good record and great base. I mean, it can be sometimes, it can definitely create second thoughts within you. Did you have that, or you were completely clear that, this is something I'm going to pursue? This is where I can find my purpose.
I did feel a lot of clarity around this because I took the time to really consider and,
Mm,
my dad's an entrepreneur, my parents are entrepreneurs, and it was always interesting because he said, "Do what you love. Don't worry about the money. Do what you love." But of course, when it came time for me to pursue this, it was, at the economic downturn. We just had the 2008 housing crash and people had lost their jobs so he did ask me the question like, "Are you sure?" Because this was 2009. "Are you
mhm,
sure you wanna leave the stability of this corporate income to do this?" And, you know, I said, "Dad, you're the one who told me, like, do what I love. Don't worry about the money." And I have done so much in this corporate career with so much experience behind me. over 20 years. So I thought, if this doesn't work out, I am sure, absolutely sure, I can go back to that world and find something, and just having that reassurance in my head was enough for me to say, I can give this 2 to 3 years. It does help to also have financial cushion. I know people who have done it without it, and it can be extremely stressful. But having that financial cushion of knowing I can give myself 2 to 3 years to make this work was also reassuring, and that's why I had so much clarity around it.
Hmm. Makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing this particular part of your journey. And I think so many listeners, they relate to that sense of, is this really it? Like, that quiet discontent that's easy to brush aside. But it's really powerful hearing how you honored it instead. So, with that, of course, bringing in the elements of meditation, yoga, and other mindful practices, how did these channels or tools support you emotionally and mentally during such a vulnerable pivot?
It was definitely grounding. Yoga for me has always been extremely grounding. It makes you pause because you also have to focus on breath work while doing the activity. It's really hard for your mind to wander. So, my intention whenever I go to yoga is always to be present, focus on the breath. And by doing that, you're not able to have thoughts, entering your mind, distracting you. Because if you do let them in, you're not paying attention to what you're supposed to do next or how you're supposed to be breathing. It affects that practice. And so it really centers you into focusing on breathing and movement, and that is really helpful in keeping me grounded. Um, when I got divorced, I started having like mm, night sweats, a little heart palpitation. I thought I was having early menopause. And I went to the doctor because I was like, I think I'm in early menopause and or perimenopause. And they said, "Oh no, yeah, you're pretty young for that. So let's run some tests." And he said my thyroid was overactive, so hyperthyroid.
Mm-hmm.
I never had an issue with my thyroid before, and although my divorce was on very good terms and we remained friends and it was a good process, it's still a very challenging process, separating from someone you've been with for 11 years and just starting over. So I think that does pose stress on the body, and my body showed that in hyperthyroid. So the doctor wanted me to take medication and, get it under control. And I told him, I'm just having a little stressful situation. And I know if I just make it a point to go to yoga 3 times a week, run 3 times a week, things will get into balance. And he said, okay, well, we'll give you 6 months. I mean, 6 weeks. 6 weeks is all you have because with hyperthyroid, it really can speed up your heart rate. It can be a serious health issue. And so we want to get it under control as soon as possible. We'll give you 6 weeks and then you'll come back in and retest. I made it a point. Yoga 3 times a week, running 3 times a week. And in 6 weeks, I went back. My blood work and, results were in normal range. And so it reaffirmed for me that, these things are important. No matter what's happening in your life, you need to prioritize the time. And so when I was starting a business, the hyperthyroid didn't come back, but I knew like it is a stressful situation. Starting a business, moving out of a partnership, going solo, having a new name for the business and starting all over again, you have to have some sort of mindful practice that will minimize the stress in your life so that you can keep thinking very clearly, making good decisions, getting good sleep. I mean, it all is connected.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And many people they think, wellness um means a complete overhaul. Um, like strict diets, um, hell-bent time constraints, and a very tight schedule for yoga, total lifestyle changes, and that too quick turnaround. Just immediate changes, quick turnaround, quick results.
Mhm.
But in the process, sometimes it kind of gets you into that burnout. So in your experience, Sharon, what small sustainable practices can people start with that make the biggest impact, but in the long run?
15 minutes of sitting in silence in the morning. Some people call it meditation. It's it's the biggest impact on your life to just spend 15 minutes. I light a candle, burn an incense, sit there, focus on my breathing. I do listen to a meditation music. Sometimes it's guided, sometimes it's just music. Um, to just be present, to start the day, on a very peaceful, mindful um, level is
Mhm.
profound. A friend and I, we two friends, we decided were doing the whole clean eating detox. We said 21 days, but why not put in meditation, just 15 minutes a day for 21 days and see how we feel? Well, that 21 days turned into years. Like it stuck with me that it made such a difference. Just, sometimes I try to do 30 minutes. Um, that saying, I forgot who said it, but if you have no time to meditate, then you should be doing it for an hour. Um, but if you can just make 15 minutes a day, you will see a change, especially after 21 days, because it is 21 days to make or break a habit. And for us, it was making a new habit that really had a profound effect on our life because we felt like the day went smoother. Like things just fell into place a little bit easier. And even when things weren't always going right, you have systems that malfunction or something happens, clients run late, you're able to just manage that, manage your reaction and be okay with it and trust that by the end of the day, things are working out. And just that 15 minutes in the morning can make such a huge difference. If you have the time, definitely, some people are doing 20, 30, 40 minutes.
Mhm.
But just to start with 15 minutes, I think people can make just that little time in the day for themselves to start the morning off right.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Baby steps, small steps. I have had conversations, where uh, some of the many of the guests they have told, let's say, and this happens, this has happened with me as well. This can happen with anyone. Like you are going to or you're planning to go to the gym, you want to be consistent daily and completely disciplined on the routine, but it may happen that the first day you will go, the second day you will go, the third day also you'll go, maybe the fourth or fifth day you may not feel like going to gym.
Mhm.
So instead of just working on yourself for a quicker turnaround or putting too much on yourself, Maybe if you're not feeling like, just maybe sit down, get ready, put on your shoes, or just keep the shoes out there. The next day, put on your shoes. The third day, you just go, maybe go to the, don't enter the gym, but just be there. And then that's the way you keep on building those habits, like an atomic level. You keep on
Mhm.
those habits. And that's how, even if the steps are very small, but those habits will stay with you for a much longer time. So it's very, very important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, everyone needs to give themselves a little grace, right? It's not
Yeah.
going to be every day. The gym, if you say 3 times a week or 4 times a week, and then you miss a day here and there, you have to give yourself a little grace, or, do something, like you say, that's an alternative. Okay, I'll take a walk around the block instead,
Yeah.
just to get out and move. Um, yeah, we also have to have some flexibility and not be rigid about, um, our wellness practice.
True, true, true. And Sharon, do you think that, let's say, if I you swear by yoga, do you also mix and match it with other channels, like breath work, or maybe some other kind of channel, which can work holistically, not just focused on one single? Or do you think that start with, let's say, only yoga, and when you have developed that habit, then you go further to other modalities or channels? Like, what's your approach on this?
I'm about exploring what works for you. Not everybody, finds yoga to be their form of practice. Some people want more invigorating, they want
Yeah,
more activity,
yeah,
and so I've tried going to the gym and going to different gyms, and then using the machines and weights. I know weights are very important, especially as I'm aging. But everybody needs to find what works for them. I've done Pilates reformer. I love the reformer. Some people want cardio. They like to bike ride. I tried bike riding. It's just not something I prefer to do. So you have to find whatever it is that makes you feel good, that you look forward to. I also have incorporated sound bath, which is an amazing experience, and I've tried different um, studios that offer sound bath. Some people just do it purely with the instruments. Some people incorporate, background sounds of nature. Um, there's a lot of different things you could do to help ground yourself. We take hikes, we go out into the forest and walk amongst the redwood trees. Sometimes it's putting my feet in the ocean. I know I grew up in Hawaii, and so I'm really connected to the ocean. I love the water. And even though it's freezing sometimes in San Francisco, my friend and I will walk and put our feet in the ocean, even if it's just 20, 15, 20 minutes, because, the belief too is we're absorbing all these minerals that the ocean provides. And, you know, it's a great time to just breathe in the air and be thankful. I mean, especially on a beautiful sunny day, we just are in awe that we live in such a beautiful place and we have such appreciation for that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
Wow. And Sharon, you mentioned that happiness is a choice. It is a perspective shift. I definitely agree with that. But it can be really, really nuanced, because some would say that, it's kind of privilege. Um, and it can sometimes feel dismissive to people going through real pain or hardship.
Mhm.
So, for those who are listening, who feel stuck, whether in their relationships or health or career, or in fact even understanding themselves, who they actually are, how can they begin making that mental shift even when external circumstances haven't yet changed?
I would say look for one thing that could bring you a little joy. One simple thing. Sometimes it is just going and sitting by the ocean, and doing that can change how you feel, and so it doesn't have to be a schedule of things, or, it doesn't have to cost anything. It can literally be go sit by the ocean and see how you feel, or go outside, watch the sunset and see how you feel, you know? Somebody I knew this past weekend volunteered at the SPCA because it was adoption day for pets. And I was amazed. She said 170 kittens and cats were adopted, and I didn't realize there was 170 kittens and cats at the SPCA. And she
Okay.
said there was only 15 left, you know? Um, and doing that, volunteering to do that, I think brought her so much joy.
Mm,
And so sometimes you don't know where it is, but, I volunteered at a women's health center for
okay.
6 years, and going there gave me such appreciation because it was a center that did help women who were going through various types of cancer. And it gives you such appreciation for your health, the life that you have. Um, And sometimes that comes from giving to something else or someone else, you know? So there's different ways to find it. If you find it difficult in yourself, maybe by doing something for someone else or somewhere else, you will find that just little piece of joy that starts igniting, further action.
Definitely.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, Sharon, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, what will be the best way to do that?
So through Instagram, we have our website, Serenity SF 2013. And then also, our website is serenitysf.com. Instagram is at serenitysf 2013.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to mention all the links in the show notes for our listeners. And Sharon, this was indeed a beautiful reminder that our life path isn't linear, it is definitely layered, complex, and deeply personal. So, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your heart, your wisdom, and your journey.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. It was so nice to talk with you.
So, to all the listeners out there, whether you are just beginning to question your direction or you are in the middle of your own reinvention, today's conversation, I believe, reminds us that small, mindful shifts can ripple into profound transformation. To all the listeners, your true north is always waiting for you. You only need to pause long enough to hear it. Until next time, I'm your host, Sana. Stay present, stay curious, and keep living mindfully. Thank you.